Which is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh anime? Why would you ask me this? How I'm trying to stream, bruh. That you're asking me to launch into a 30-minute discussion. Let me finish the duel at least. I'm really enjoying Vrains right now. I'd say I like them all except Arc V and Zexal 2 Zany. I'll come back to that. Don't worry. All right. So, what is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh anime? Ooh, let's talk about that. I really like DM. I'm a big fan of Siegfried Lloyd, or Siegfried von Schroeder. I think he's a very excellent villain. I really enjoyed Maximilian Pegasus in Season 1. I liked the idea of the Ori Calcos spinoff, like the filler arc. I thought it was very poorly implemented. I really wish that they had the filler characters go after Merrick and Bakura instead of after Kaiba and Yugi, because Merrick and Bakura were actually evil characters, and they had they would have been very interesting. And DSOD did go into this, right? It would have been very interesting to see someone try and make Bakura and Merrick pay for the crimes that they committed while they were possessed. So fun. GX is really, really good. I never saw the ending to GX. I never saw the ending to 5Ds either. So, and I never saw the ending to Arc V. So, Reigns had the best duels by far. It was really cool to watch Varus/Revolver do the extra link, like a completely legal extra link. That was awesome. Arc V, I really liked the characters. I really thought that I think Yuya Sakaki is probably my favorite protagonist. I really enjoy his nature. The idea of someone who duels specifically to put on a show is really appealing to me, because I'm a streamer. I do the same thing. Egypt, Atlantis, then back to Egypt. Hey, we didn't actually go to Atlantis. That was a fever dream, just like when we went into the virtual world. 5Ds is definitely not one of my favorites. It's a good anime. Akiza is probably the most attractive of the female Yu-Gi-Oh protagonists, other than Ishizu. It's like Ishizu, Akiza, and then no, it's just Ishizu and Akiza. Oh, Yuma's older sister. Those three. But attractiveness does not make the anime good. I feel like the turbo duel aspect was really, really difficult to sell to people because of the speed world. Like speed world as a concept is interesting. Speed world as a concept is interesting, but the problem is you are legitimately saying that people can't play spell cards. And if you say that people can't play spell cards, then it makes the anime much less relatable. Like a card like Angel Baton, right? Angel Baton is an interesting idea for a card, but it doesn't exist. They made a skill of it in Duel Links, but in the real game, it's not a real card. So when Yusei plays Angel Baton to win the game, that's not relatable. That's just more anime nonsense. Just like how in Arc V they had all the action spells. Like I don't want fake cards. And it's bad enough when they make cards that they don't intend to print. But when they make cards that when they make cards that they don't print, right? Not cards that they don't intend to print, but cards that they don't print. Like what they did in Vrains. Basically, every anime character had like a deck that they didn't make later. But when they make an entire class of cards, like speed spells and action spells that they don't intend to print at all, and then they expect me to take that seriously throughout the anime, especially when those cards are used to bail people out of situations. It's like, no, this is stupid. Just make them play better. That's all you have to do. All you have to do, make them play better. Make them put good cards in their deck. Yusei has Scrap Iron Scarecrow. It's very easy for Yusei to use Scrap Iron Scarecrow as a crutch, because Scrap Iron Scarecrow is basically what Yuya did with Evasion and Miracle. And he played Evasion and Miracle in basically every game, right? What's his name? Yuma in Zexal also relied heavily on trap cards that like prevented his monsters from being destroyed and have the damage he took. So, but when Yuma did it, they were real cards, so it was a lot more interesting. My over everything. That is incorrect, but it's okay. You are allowed to be incorrect. I have to keep playing, otherwise it's not an actual stream. God, why would you ask me this? So Jack Atlas was a really cool character that I felt like didn't get enough potential. He got sidelined, and the fact that they did, for some reason, they did not give Jack Excel Synchro was really weird to me. Like, I understand that he has the ability to double tune, which is an interesting idea, and they did kind of lean into that. But it's not... It's unique, but it's not cool. It's not cool to have a bunch of little resonators that tune one dragon. That's not the same thing as like a synchro climb, like what Bruno and Yusei did. Like Kiza really suffered from her boss monster being bad. Like Black Rose Dragon was really good, but because it kept killing itself, it was like, okay, well, what is she doing, right? My man Serafi definitely speaking facts. Thank you. So, it's definitely not Zexal, 100%. Zexal is an anime that has a very good plot. I will say that. Zexal would have been amazing if the main character wasn't bad. That's the problem, right? Yuma, like, here's the thing. And Konami should understand this at this point. You cannot make the main character comic relief. You cannot do that. It's really fine for you to have a main character's sidekick or their best friend be comic relief. Joey was fine. Hasselberry was great. And Jaden was, like, I don't understand this. They keep trying to remake Jaden Yuki because GX was really good. And I understand that. But Yuya is a much better representation of what was positive about Jaden. Whereas Yuma is like an attempt to dumb Jaden down. Yes, Jaden was a character that was very happy-go-lucky. He wasn't really all that concerned about losing games, and he did lose games. But Jaden was never a joke. Like, people would mock Jaden to his face. People would, you know, tell him that he was a slacker, tell him that he was a loser. But we didn't ever think that, right? There was never a point where anyone felt like Jaden was actually, like, stupid or bad, you know? Like, he would slack off in class, he would get yelled at, and there would occasionally be, like, a trip scene or something like that, right? But it was not in the same vein as Yuma. Yuma legitimately is shown from day one as being incompetent, as being stupid. He trips, he falls, he says that he's going to get back up again. It's kind of inspiring, but really, like, that's a story that you want to tell for a character that's not the main character. I don't want the main character to be incompetent. And at the very least, they did it better with Yuya, because Yuya legitimately didn't understand any of the summoning mechanics. That's different, right? It's different for you to not know something, and for you to be taught it and learn it, that's interesting. But for you to legitimately, like, just not play your cards correctly, to not read your cards, to argue with someone who's trying to help you, and to also be just like a person who can't, you know, can't walk, can't talk, can't do anything right, like, and gets constantly mocked and laughed at and never taken seriously, even after you win games. It's like, Yuma should have been more respected, and because he wasn't a character that commanded respect from anyone else in his circle, he didn't command respect from me, and therefore, like, the entire anime suffered. And which is sad because Shark and Kite were really good characters, and the plot was fantastic. But you just can't you can't ruin the main character and have a good anime. It's not gonna work. So it's definitely not Zexal. And that brings me to Vrains. God, I'm gonna time out. Okay. What can I say about Vrains? Zexal was only good because of Kaito and the antagonists. Yuma is only interesting at the very end. Yuma was a genuinely interesting character. He was. But the storyline that they were trying to tell with Yuma was too poor. There were better ways they could have handled it. Alright, there are comments in the chat. I will read them in just a second. I gotta focus on... I'm playing against a tier 1 deck right now, guys. My theory is that GX and Vrain and 5Ds were great because they age well with the DM audience. Zexal and Arc V was Konami going for the next generation of kids. It wasn't for us. I mean, I can understand that, but... the problem is that 5Ds was like... The transition from 5Ds to Zexal was too jarring. Like 5Ds kind of felt like the characters were aged up, you know. It felt like you know, the series was growing with us, and then they just dropped Zexal, which is like the complete opposite of the direction. Like it's gone back before, like it's gone back to a level before GX in terms of maturity, which is, you know, that's not ideal. So, all right, so Vrains. What can I say about Vrains? Vrains tried to do too much at once, in my opinion. The plot of Vrains was extremely complex, and that's good. You know, I don't have a problem with a complex plot. But the issue is, I never felt like Yusaku himself was developed that well. We understand that he is, you know, a victim of being, you know, kidnapped, being tortured, and that has changed him, developed him, you know, and he is seeking answers, seeking revenge. He also has this like side plot where he's going to try and find, what's the guy's name? Kadeki? His friend's brother, right? And that's fine. You know, he has clear motivation, he has clear backstory. But we don't see him in school that much. We don't see him outside of Reigns all that much. So I don't really feel like I know who Yusaku is. I feel like I know plenty about Playmaker. But when you have this like split personality, right, to the point where you completely design two separate characters, right? You have Yusaku and you have Playmaker. When you are going to go that far to make a completely jarring transformation sequence, it's important for you to establish the two identities as separate individuals with clear like personality differences and things like that. And basically what they did with Yusaku was they just made him like really, really good at hiding the fact that he was Playmaker. He carried a like fake deck, which was really interesting. You know, that shows that he's smart. It shows that he's careful. It shows that he plans things. And we saw him capture Ai, and most of his scenes are in interacting with Ai like strapped to his wrist, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but the plot is so complicated that you're constantly watching Playmaker watching Yusuke push the plot forward, which is fine, but it's not the best, right? Like you want this feeling that you can side with the player, and Playmaker is an expression of loss. And the problem really with Playmaker's story is that there's nothing to hope for. There's no positivity. What is Playmaker really doing, right? He's looking for revenge. He's trying to stop the Ignis from being destroyed. And then at the end of the anime, he has to kill his best friend. So there's not a happy ending. There's not any sort of like hope or dreams or any aspiration. You feel like if Yusaku completed his journey as a character, everything is over. You know, Jaden had like clear thoughts and dreams. He wanted to be successful. He wanted to stand shoulder to shoulder with Aster Phoenix. He was inspired by Zane. Like, the people around Jaden. Jaden was surrounded by giants, and so he was able to aspire. He was able to lose, and he was able to say, you know, I might not be the best, but I can be if I try hard enough. And that gave you something to root for. Same thing with Yugi. Yugi, even though like a lot of Yugi's plot was trying to stop the world from being destroyed, you had these tender, funny moments where you had like Anzu wants to go and dance in America. Yugi's gonna open a game store. You know, yes, Yugi's parents are dead, and yes, Atem is leaving, but you still feel like Yugi as a person has grown, and Yugi as a person has things going for him afterwards. Yusei and Akiza get married, so that's like a completely like tied up plot. Like the ending to 5Ds is really good. I haven't seen it, but I know it, and it's good enough. And Yuma, I mean, of course, Yuma hasn't even beaten Kite by the end of the series, so Yuma still has a lot to go for. You know, you feel like, and especially the ending to 5D to Zexal, it's like it feels like there's just another chapter that's about to happen that you just don't get to see. So Zexal feels like the story never even ended, which is great. That's fantastic. But Reigns is just so empty. It's a very, very good plot. The characters are all very interesting, but it's not a shonen anime. It's like Death Note, where it's a commentary on the human condition, which is fine, but it's not what I want in a Yu-Gi-Oh show. And no one's even talking at this point, so I don't even know why I'm still explaining this to you guys. I guess the answer is gonna have to be. I haven't talked about like what I don't like about Arc 5 yet. The thing that I really hate about Arc 5 is the Synchro arc, because they basically they incorporated turbo duels for no reason. There aren't speed spells in Arc 5 because, you know, they can't have those. They already have action spells. So instead, it's just literally like you activate Speed World and nothing happens. So like the turbo dueling aspect is completely overshadowed by the action duel aspect, as it should be, because that's the anime that we're in right now. But it's like, then what was the point of even incorporating the duel runners to begin with? There's no point. So turbo dueling in that world is basically meaningless, and they still have Speed World as a card, which is like, you know, that's so weird. Like, Speed World in Arc 5 does nothing. It doesn't do, there's no speed counters, there's no speed spells. So why do they activate a field spell when they start dueling? It's just like, it's so dumb. Like, I'm sorry, but I can't ignore when something is dumb. That's a pet peeve of mine. So I'm sorry. I'm not even paying attention. All right, chat. I just completely ruined my entire gameplay. Okay, where was I? Arc V, right? Yuya is probably my favorite protagonist. I really like the idea of Yuya. I thought that the 4 dragons was really cool. I do not like how they made a big deal out of super polymerization in GX, but then Yuri just has the card and no one cares. In Arc V, like, I feel like super polymerization is too important from an anime perspective. Even though it's important to highlight that Starving Venom Fusion Dragon is a very good card to use with super polymerization, I don't feel like they should have given it to him in the anime. Like, it just doesn't feel like you're treating the card with the right weights. So I didn't like that part. It was cool to see all the old characters again. Crow was very interesting. I did not like Shinji, because I don't like anarchists. So I thought Shinji was a very bad character. I did not side with him at all. Jack was cool. Jack was a very cool looking character. Very. I did like the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. It was interesting to see like all the old characters get retrains of their boss monsters. And Raikiri the Rain Shower is finally a boss monster that Blacklings can actually use. So that whole archetype was really interesting. Um, I did not like I did not like how they chose Alexis as one of the characters to revisit because Alexis did not fusion summon. They could have given her a cyber Blader retrain, but no, they doubled down on the ritual summoning, which was dumb. She's from the fusion dimension, and we're not doing cross summoning mechanics, so that was just entirely unnecessary and stupid. But it was cool to see Aster get fusion summons, so I like that. What can I say about Arc V? Yusho as a character was really interesting. Seeing him come back, seeing him, duel, seeing this character who could not pendulum summon, fusion summon, ritual summon, synchro summon. He couldn't do anything but tribute summon, and he still held his own against like a main antagonist. Was really fun. So yeah, I think Arc V is going to be my answer. I did really enjoy Arc V as an anime. So yeah, Arc V is probably my favorite. And that legitimately took me an hour to answer. When Kite appeared in Arc V, I screamed, "Same!" Same, and I really enjoyed Kite in Arc 5. I mean, except for the fact that he didn't have a brother, right? I understand that they kind of took Kite's arc and put her on Shay, but they shouldn't have. Who is Kite without Heart, right? That was just weird. I mean, it'd be one thing if they said that Heart died in the war, and that was why Kite was such a jerk. But they didn't say that in the dub. I don't know. Or I don't know if that was a plot point in the sub, but for them to not mention Heart at all was weird. So I didn't like that.